Hey guys, welcome to Approach the Nerds after show from Motherland, Fort Salem. I put my pajamas on. I took off the makeup because this was a lot. This episode was a lot. I had to take notes. If you see me drifting over here, it's because it was a lot. This was like nonstop. Every episode, there is an increase in amount of content we get per episode. I feel like they're just like raising up and up and up until everything boils over or explodes. So, putting away the switch, taking out the tea, and here we go. So, the episode does not start off calmly. No. The episode starts out in freaking insane. Like literally, they're on the train, which we knew was going to happen. We saw this in the trailer, and we knew there was context to it, especially when Adil said he was leaving, or when Abigail found out he was leaving to go with Khalida to India. We knew that train was going to get hit by the Camarera. We already knew it. Now remember, shady freaking Sarah told everybody that it was the spree. She had Petra lie. She had everybody lie. The initial statement by the military is that it was the effing spree in the last episode that attacked, the demonstration at the testing, basically demonstration and the testing center. But let's start from the train. So they're on the train. Khalida is being her, once again, immortal self. She's immortal. She's not even an adult. That girl is like epically immortal. She was on there saying, they're like literally so I think General Sharma, General Sharma was like, well, you'll love being in India, you can be yourself, our food is great. And Khalida's like, yeah, so what do you want from us? I'm like, and the look on her face, she's like, heifer, I'm not listening to this. Like, what do we need to do to stay here? And that's what do you expect us to do to be part of India? That's all I want to know, because you don't want the team to be here out of the kindness of your heart. You want our seeds. That's literally what that's what that is. We knew this in the last season. This is what's happening in this season. So right when they're having the conversation, these two like servers bring the tea, and I was already thinking, so this is what's going down, because you didn't see their faces. All you saw were these hands. So General Sharma was sitting like right next to her assistant, and Adil and Khalida were right across from them. All of them got tea. Now, I will say this: if the Camarera wants to take out all witches, why didn't they put it in Khalida and Adil's tea too? Because Adil was holding his teacup and he drank from it. Because if you look, he puts his teacup down and you see him swallow. So he did drink from his teacup. It didn't look like the assistant had it. Khalida's didn't have it. It was literally just General Sharma's cup. So why didn't they just put it in all four of their cups, therefore taking out all of the witches? I don't understand. And so OCD guys. So I don't get why you guys are getting an insight into my life right now. This is what I do when I'm going to bed. I literally will like mess with my hair. It's still getting on my nerves. Anyway, so why did they not take out all four of them? I mean, they would have gotten to the team. They would have gotten, because Khalida pretty much is the head of them now. There's hardly none of them left. And then they would have got, of course, General Sharma. Nobody seems to care that General Sharma's assistant also was killed. They just said, General Sharma and Khalida and Adil were attacked. I'm like, what about the poor girl? They knocked the cup out of, the general's hand, trying to save her life and infecting herself in the process. I'm like, okay, I guess she just doesn't matter. So anyway, again, Khalida, #badass. Now, testing is being suspended by Vice President Silver. That's because they're worried about what happened with the spree. They don't want to have, any more incidents. They think that people are going to be attacked going to the center. So, Alder's telling this to Petra. So Petra's like, well, what did President Wade say? And then like shady Alder's like, she's still feeling under the weather. I'm like, she probably really is feeling under the weather because you puppeted her twice. So she literally probably has a brain aneurysm or something. So you've done something to this woman that's potentially irreversible, because we don't know why this was banned in the first place. I mean, we know morally why this is banned, but we don't know the physical ramifications of why puppeting the president and basically taking over her mind and making her say what you wanted to say, what kind of physical ramifications that has on the president. So every time they say she's under the weather, I'm really believing that this is all Alder's fault. Either it is a side effect or Alder's continuously messing with her mind, never letting her go. So there's that. Also, I know you all have filled up the comments. I promise we'll get to them as soon as possible. I just want to get through recap, kind of question things before I look over there. So just a heads up, I do see you guys in there. All right. So Alder got confronted by Tally. Of course, she tried to deny it. Then she puts on this old music. I want to say it was from the 40s or 50s. Just I love civilian music. And then she starts basically trying to convince, Tally that she's well, obviously, you're crazy. She's like, I never was, I basically was never in Liberia. I don't know who you're talking about. Who's Nikta? She's literally playing this game oh, you cray cray. And Tally's you can redact stuff. You can, basically mess with all of the photos here, but I know you were there. And so Alder tries to say, well, there was a tragedy, when all of this went down, and, because I couldn't save everyone, then I feel like it was, I just wanted to erase all the memory of my failure. And so Tally's oh, so basically your ego and, your reputation basically played out over a tragedy, and you basically taking the blame, or at least, owning up to being there. And so then Alder's how dare you question me, minion? That's what she was how dare you? And Tally, basically, I thought she was going to get angrier, because when Alder was you have some nerve coming in here in the middle of the night talking crap to me when I'm trying to have my hair down, drinking my tea and listening to my music. And Tally's well, we are still connected. And then Alder's the connection's gone. She's then how come I'm having all these memories? And so Alder's you can see Alder's face oh, hell no. I'm going to give Isadora to give you, I tell Isadora to give you something immediately. And as soon as she said that, I was Tally, please don't take whatever they give her. But of course she did, because she even said, I didn't really want to do it, but I wanted to have peace at the same time. I get it. I wouldn't want to live Alder's life either, because Alder is too damn shady. So I absolutely understand that. So at this point, she still has questions, but it's Samhain, and that's basically, this is their version of Halloween. And they have their own practices. They have this kind of reverse, dinner that they do at Witch College, where you eat the dessert first and then you eat, regular food later. Abigail is not doing well through majority of this episode. She is so insecure and traumatized from Charvel, from them almost getting her again, from literally everything that has gone on from last season and this season. Has made her confidence so low that when they were sparring in hand-to-hand combat class, she literally tapped out, and she's never done that before. And so, of course, Raelle and Tally are worried. And Tally, tells Raelle, I think we should go home, go back to Anna or Abigail's house with her during fall break, which I really wish they had done. I really wish that had played out. But of course, Raelle's well, she's not going to let us go. But okay, cool. And so, they go to try and talk to her about it. And of course, Abigail's you're not going to be safe there either. You're not safe, anywhere. There's nowhere safe. And she's losing her shit. She even told her mother, she was maybe I should have just died. She's literally rock bottom, because right before they have hand-to-hand combat, and she's already told her mother maybe she should have been dead and she's useless, and she walked right into this trap. Then here comes Gregorio, the bearer of great news. And he's so how you feeling? She's I just had my throat cut out, so I'm doing great. And he's oh, no, I don't mean about that. That's nothing. What I meant to tell you was, what happened in India, because your man was on the train and it got attacked. How you holding up? And I'm oh, Lord. And I'm they are trying to give Abigail a nervous effing breakdown. That's what they are trying to do in this season. She's having issues. And she just started flashing through all the traumatic stuff that's been happening since literally this series began, to her and her family and friends and everything. And she's like, it's never going to stop. It is never going to stop. And so, yeah, she's not doing well at all. So we'll jump back to our bellwether unit and what's happening at Witch College in a minute. We have to move back over to Anacostia for a second. Raelle does confront her in this episode about Scylla, because she's like, I saw Scylla at the demonstration. Don't lie to me. And so, of course, Anacostia is like, it's top secret. The military is aware of her. We're basically using her for a mission. It's a need to know thing. But Raelle wants to know, how did Scylla get this picture? And Anacostia looks at her for a minute, and it looks like she wants to say something, and she looks like really put off. And then she's like, that's all I can tell you. And she walks away. And I'm like, okay, you should put 2 and 2 together. Did your mother carry that picture with her? That's clue number 1, that something's not right. But of course, you know, Raelle's not thinking her mother's alive. And I get it. I realize when she realizes her mom's alive, that episode is going to be a mess. But okay. So Anacostia and Scylla are working together, and they get invited to this special party, Halloween party, that's being hosted by, they learn later, is the Camarera. So all these members of the Camarera, including this police officer who was at the demonstration. So they get an invite by, you know, Dan and Bonnie, but Bonnie doesn't go. So Bonnie is actually the meek wife whose husband is very controlling, and she just goes along with what the husband says. So we don't really hate Bonnie. Bonnie is just a very weak woman. And her daughter's friend, Tiffany, who they already mentioned in previous episodes, was identified as a witch through, you know, the hearing test. She's on vacation. And they keep telling their daughter, because, you know, Bonnie's taking the daughter trick-or-treating, and she's like, can Tiffany come? And of course, Dad's like, you know, Tiffany's still out of town. But what we don't realize is that he kidnapped Tiffany and offered her up at this party as a damn sacrifice. And I'm like, they were willing to kill this young girl. This is a child. And I'm like, that is so messed up. And Anacostia and Scylla working together, side note, they are becoming chummy BFFs. Like literally, Scylla was like, I'm gonna need you to like lend me that jumpsuit. Oh, and the coat. And Anacostia's like, you look amazing too. And I'm like, what is happening? You know, like, but again, I do like their chemistry. I love their good cop, bad cop friendship. So, I mean, honestly, again, Scylla still has a long way to go before she's in a redemption arc. But I do love that her and Anacostia have that relationship and that banter. They're really funny together. So I'm completely down with all of their scenes together. I think it's really cool. But long story short, because I want to make this a huge, long recap, they do go to the party. They get in there. It's basically everyone's wearing masks, so you know they can't figure out who to puppet or who to basically take the face of. And then they see Tiffany as the sacrifice. So the plans pretty much go out the window at that point. Anacostia's like, our work is being, or actually Scylla's like, the work's being blocked. And Anacostia was going to improvise, but now they're like, no, they're about to kill this girl. So she goes off to try and shut off what's blocking their work. And at the same time, all of these people are being passed out stones. They're going to stone. They have the girl with her hands tied above her head. They're going to stone this little child to death. And I'm like, are you effing kidding me? I was so livid. As a parent, I was ready to fight. And I will say Scylla did stand up and say, take me instead of her, because she couldn't stand the fact that, you know, a young girl, especially a young witch, was about to be stoned to death. She's like, you know, take me because I'm a witch. I'm also a spree, and I killed thousands of people and I enjoyed it. And actually, I do think she kind of meant that part. But while she's distracting them and getting ready to sacrifice herself up, she's actually trusting Anacostia to turn this off, which as a kind of development, more of the trust development in their relationship is really good, because she could have been like, well, I'm just dead, because Anacostia could just run off and leave me to die. But Anacostia faced that same bunghole that was giving hearing tests and was over Bonnie and her husband's house, and that she hit last time Scylla was at the car and was spying on him. Basically took him out in a little street alley. Well, she hit him. He broke out a stick, and then he actually had one of their weapons, and it was trying to beat Anacostia. I do know that Little Boots had put on here earlier before the stream started. He put Cleopatra Brown. I'm like, I get that. I'm sorry, Cleopatra Jones. And I do see that because she, again, very influential, badass female Black actress on the level of Shaft and some of the other, the big boys of that era in terms of sexuality and badass ability, my own word. But I literally saw Anacostia as Foxy Brown. That girl was Pam Greering. Shit, if you haven't seen Foxy Brown, you need to watch Foxy Brown. But she Foxy Brown his ass. And I was like, okay. I'm like, okay. She was not. If people don't realize how badass Anacostia is, they know now. Girl did not mess up her hair. I'm like, she was not playing. She ended up turning off what was dampening their powers. And then of course Scylla walks in and she like starts using one of her seeds to push the cop back. And then everybody else starts running. And I'm like, I guess what offended me was she killed all these civilians. Why not just do the same thing with all of them? Because I mean, they actually are a terrorist group too. This is the people you do take out. But whatever. But I will tell you what I thought was disturbing. Now I see how the spree gets their faces. Unless I interpreted this wrong. When she set his face on fire and inhaled it, I'm like, is that how they get all the faces? They literally just burn them off the people? How many people's faces were burned off that were not Camarera and a-holes? So that's something disturbing to think about. So, yeah. Seeing how the spree gets faces, yeah, that was a mess. Speaking of the spree, we did see a guy named Jonah. Jonah is like, I guess, one of Scylla's old friends in the spree who thought she was really badass. He actually was calling her weak in this. Willow was begging him not to go on this suicide mission. This is the second time we've seen this. In the last episode that we saw Willow in, another spree cell member was trying to get them to team up with them on this, I guess, the same mission. And she said no. Well, Jonah's going, and he's like, I want to go fight against the people that are forcing us to fight for these civilians in this country. You remember that? Remember that mission? And she's like, yeah, but you're going on a suicide mission. It's not worth dying for or giving up your life. And he goes. I don't know what the hell this mission is because right now we are so preoccupied with what the Camarera is doing and how shady Alder is that we don't have time to look at what's actually happening with other spree cells because they're not connected. So I'm like, I don't know what's up with that, but that is effed up. And to finish off the whole Scylla storyline in this, she ends up going to Bonnie's house, taking on Bonnie's face, which is interesting because she took on Bonnie's face and Bonnie's still alive. I don't know if they die when it happens, but I mean, that guy's face was set on fire and it looked like he burned to death. So maybe there's different ways you can do it. But anyway, she pretends to be Bonnie. And so she gets on Anne and she's like, do you want something else? Basically, she was flirting with him and coming on to him. And then when he was getting all comfortable with her, she whispered in his ear, "It's not our daughter." And then she stabs him right through the ear and smiles. And then basically uses the lighter, goes back to her original face and then walks out. And then Bonnie's like literally coming up the driveway with groceries. And she's like, "Oh, I didn't know you were coming here." And she like called her Justine, her pretend name. And she's like, "Oh, I had to drop, Shane was his name. I had to drop something off for Shane." And then she turns around and Scylla's like, "Hey, find something to live for, like your daughter." And then she walks off and then you hear Bonnie screaming. Yeah, that's a thing. That is a thing. But I don't know. Maybe she didn't take that guy's face. Maybe she literally just burned it and sucked it into her nose. And I don't know what the hell that means. I don't know what that means. She's a necro. I don't know what this means. Somebody needs to fill me in on this. I'm losing it here. I don't know why she inhaled the ashes of this man's face. So somebody tell me what that means. Because I don't know. I have no theories on this. It just grossed me out. All right. So back to Samhain, basically Wake the Dead. Their version of Halloween, they have this Wake the Dead like tradition where they go outside, a group of people. First of all, Abigail, Tally, and Rael technically weren't in this group. When Gregorio saw them when they were walking in formation, he kind of nodded for them to sneak in. So they just kind of were there. And I don't know why no one said anything about that. But like, whatever. I keep thinking that maybe M cut Rael's hand to get the blood for the campfire or for the fire, basically, or the pyre or whatever, as kind of like punishment for crashing the party. But basically, they talk about the Lost Regiment. They tell us a story about how, during the French and Indian War, that the troops wanted to build a fire, but they knew it would give away their location. But it got so cold that they, made one campfire, but it led to them basically dying. Everybody died. And so the idea is, if you can keep this fire going, and the battle was called the Battle of Latoque. If you can keep the fire going, then basically what you win is you could talk to any witch that basically has died, whether they're connected to you or not. So, but you have to keep the fire going. So that's what they're doing. They are literally attacked by the regiments, on both sides, and they have to keep it up until midnight. And then at midnight, if they keep the fire going until midnight, they win this battle. It's crazy as hell. And you see all of them fighting off and hitting, you basically trying to dodge all attacks. So they come from everywhere. Gregorio gets shot with an arrow. And then we finally see Rael be a fixer. I'm like, it's been so long. I'm like, can you still do it? And it was so crazy. She walked up to him and she she broke the back of the arrow and then pushed it through like you're supposed to do. And Gregorio was like, I don't get paid enough for this crap, And so she ends up, fixing him. It was really cool because I've missed seeing her do that, because I haven't seen her do that in forever. So I'm glad Rael is being a fixer. So kudos to that. But she manages to fix him. Then she uses some of her, Mama Mushroom powers to push one of the natives on the horseback, and he gets off the horse. I think it was a native. I want to say it was one of the native spirits. And then right when he shoots an arrow, it's midnight and they win. So basically, they get to talk to whoever. So this is where it gets kind of interesting. So Tally wants to conjure Volja, who is basically one of the martyrs back in, the battle that the Liberty or whatever, where Alder was supposed to be, but was not apparently, but really was, because she was lying, because she's shady as hell. She wants to know the truth. So she conjures her. And when she conjures her, she not only tells her that she didn't martyr herself, she showed Tally what happened. And Volja and her people surrendered, and then they threw the freaking, there's a canister through the window onto the ground, essentially killing all of them. And I think Volja ended up stabbing herself. It was messed up. And then of course they got burned alive from the inside. And we saw the whole thing where Sarah was saying, oh, well, they, basically she was called black-hearted because they surrendered. They were all the people surrendered, and then you just killed them. Now we're seeing that she really did do this. She really did kill Volja and these people. And it is so messed up. The whole thing. I think in my last review, or the review before last with the pilot, we were talking about it when Tally started having these. I said, I bet you she killed those people. And Nikta was like, you've got a black heart, and Esterbrook and all that, and all the sacrifice that was had. It really happened. She really effing did it. She really killed these people using not her own seeds, but Nikta's stuff. She literally used her, pretty much non-canon magic to kill these people who had already effing surrendered. And they were like, Alder's army is nearby. What is happening? What did you do, Alder? Oh my God, you were such a horrible person. Oh, guys, messed up. So that's Tally's thing. Tally's basically got some hard truths about Alder. They already know Alder's a mess, but this did not help. Gregorio was going to conjure Libba, and Abigail's like, give her my best. Of course, Abigail conjures Charvel, and she gives her some tough love. She's like, you didn't fail me, woman. You're failing yourself. You need to stop being a soldier and start being a warrior. So basically, Abigail is going vigilante, and she realized, or Petra tells her that Adil's still alive in the episode, and their little cute little hug reunion is cool. But Adil is messed up from the attack too. He's shaking, and Abigail's like, yeah, they attacked. They tried again with my family too, and so he's being hunted gives you new perspective. And she's like, well, it's time for them to be hunted. So now we got the recreation of the CW Arrow. They're going to go, because they failed Fort Salem. So they're going after the Camarera by themselves. Now together, I think Abigail and Adil are very powerful. So especially Adil. Adil's got skills. So I'm really interested to see how these two fare against the Camarera because they're going to be doing it on the down low. Because Abigail even told Tally that she was going to do that. And Tally was like, you're literally serving yourself up to them on a platter. And Abigail's like, she changed directions like that. She's like, yeah, you're right. Besides, my mom won't let me out of her sight. That girl didn't change directions. Tally, you know this girl's lying to you. She is absolutely going up to Camarera now because Chevelle told her to be a vigilante. It's going to be a mess, guys. And also Raelle wanted to summon her mother, which I already knew this was going to happen. I put this in my poll earlier that she was going to ask for her mother. And of course, Abigail was going to probably talk to Chevelle. But Raelle waited for her mom and she never showed up because of course she wouldn't show up because mama's still alive. But Raelle's taking it as her mother doesn't want to talk to her. That was so heartbreaking. As somebody whose mother is dead, I understand what it's like to want to talk to your mother one more time. I would be effing devastated if I sat here and lit a candle and my mother never came and talked to me. So like I was in my feelings on that scene. I'm like, I felt so bad. And I actually feel more bad that she's going through all this heartbreak and her mother's effing alive. That is so effed up. So Raelle's going to need therapy. You know, Abigail obviously needs therapy. Tally needs therapy. I mean, there's so many therapies that need to be had right now, but they can't because they're soldiers. So it's a mess. And then also, did you guys notice the moment between Gregorio and Tally when she was helping him up? I'm like, this girl. Like, she was picking him up. I'm like, for a girl from a matrifocal society, she's getting all the Atlantean men. I'm like, all of them. I'm like, what is happening? What is happening? So yeah, Tally's got some goods, I guess, because I mean, Garrett, now Gregorio, I mean, they're all rolling for Tally. So Tally does not need to go home with Abigail because she's gonna be knocked up before she gets back to Fort Salem after fall break. So yeah, that's a thing. So yeah, overall, very, very good episode. I still thought it was interesting how Alder is so shady. You even saw her during everything that's going on. Her and her biddies are outside. They're like burning tapes and all kinds of evidence. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? She is so effing shady. I'm like, oh my God, she's so shady. I am so excited for next week. Something happens to her in the trailer and you see like light coming out of her mouth. So maybe like somebody's sucking out her souls, but I'm telling you guys, this S is getting real. Tally is going home in the next episode with Raelle. I don't know why she doesn't want to go home. I guess she doesn't want to talk to her mother. I do wonder where Joy is because that is her friend from back at the colony she's from. And we've never seen her again because she was in War College and I don't know where Joy is. So I would like to know what happened to Joy. Did Joy die? I'm like, where is Joy? Just throwing it out there, guys. Unless she's in she couldn't be in a higher class because they weren't gone that long in season 1 from the point of them going out to rescue Adil's people to everyone thinking that Abigail and Raelle were dead and Tally being a biddy. I don't feel like a whole semester or a whole year went by. So where the hell is Joy? Like, cause she made it into War College in the season finale of this show of season 1. So I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. So it's a thing. All right, guys, so much. Let me scroll all the way up. I saw both these movies growing up in the early 70s. I assure you it's Cleopatra Jones. I'm not saying Cleopatra Jones isn't badass. I'm talking about you take Cleopatra Jones, pop her with Foxy Brown because she has better style. Because how Anacostia was dressed was a lot more femme than what I've seen Cleopatra Jones. Now, I was born in the 70s. I was born in 76. Yes, I'm telling you my age, but I've seen these movies because my dad used to watch those and Shaft and all of these other movies because, I mean, that was his thing. We watched those. But I will say there are essence of Cleopatra Jones, but that girl was also rocking Foxy Brown's Pam Grier for me. That is my opinion. I feel like there was a lot of Foxy Brown in Anacostia. Yes, I just see the picture, and yes, Dimitri and Anacostia nailed that look. Anacostia could nail every look. Is anyone worried that this could be only just one faction of the Camarera? Because from the number of film tapes that were in the box that Petra managed to acquire, I would say about 7 or 8. And Alder's burning everything. Because I'm still convinced that she literally aided in the creation of the spree because of what she did. And Nikta is probably the founding effing member. And who knows, maybe Rael's mother figured out what Alder did too. And that's initially why she went off with the spree, not just because of how they were treating her because she married a civilian. That would be interesting, though. That would be very interesting. So I will give you that. Bear with me. Turning my fan around. We're having a personal summer. Personal summers are not fun, guys. All right. Hello, Dee Dee. How are you? Scylla and Anacostia were the stars of this episode. They are like the good cop, bad cop. They remind me of literally like every cop movie that I've always loved, like original Rush Hour or like Lethal Weapon. Like they have that dynamic going, like the one crazy one and the one that's like really. I really like. Yeah, they give me like kind of young Danny Glover, Mel Gibson vibes a little bit. Scylla says trick or treat before wind striking the member of the Camarera was just pure gold. Yeah, that was funny. Trick or treat. Meaning the operation was local, and we may have to look more closer because I'm sure there are still underground workings that managed to get intel as for what happened tonight. Yeah, I mean, even seeing that cop there, that was so like, I don't know, guys. I was like in my feelings. I was like, so the cop obviously got away. The one, and he was the one initially that was letting the people bring stuff in to set those little bombs to try and get, Abigail, because that's basically what they were doing. They literally have said, and even Shane said, they have judges, cops, lawyers. They are such a high, high society of people are involved in the Camarera, like for generations, that of course, if you are this evil witch hunting group, you're going to have money. You're going to have connections, and you don't know who's in it. And I mean, we see this in every show. I mean, it's just what it is. But yeah, I was really impressed with how quickly this progressed, and how many people are apparently involved in all of this. So it's a thing. I think I actually didn't go all the way up. Hi, Eric. How are you? Many good blessings to you. Every episode is step up from the last one. Yes, it is. Absolutely is. Okay, well, I think I read this one, the Cleopatra Jones. And like I said, I do agree that I do see elements of Tamara Dotson, Cleopatra Jones, but she still has that femme flair that has always been Foxy Brown, especially when she pulled that gun out of her hair. I'm like, I can see her doing that. Not a gun, like a dagger or something. I can see her doing that. That fight scene that displays Demetria's character, Anacostia Corman, wearing that afro is very Miss Tamara Dotson scenes in her movies. Yeah, and remember, though, Foxy also had a fro in a lot of her, a lot of the scenes that she would fight, especially with that black leather jacket. Like I said, I mean, I can see both. It's a thing. I can see both. Okay, now I'm going to move back down again to make sure I got people at the top. I try, guys. I'm old. Leave me alone. Okay, yes, Anacostia and Scylla are serious major players this episode, and Alder is digging herself deeper and deeper into the hole she made for herself these past 300 plus years. Yes, she is. And this is just the stuff we knew through 1 or 2 memories. Think about this. She's been around for 300 years. That woman has done a lot. I think she's puppeted every president. That's how she stayed in power. This is so messed up. It is so, so messed up. Was it bad taste for me wanting Scylla to pull the massive Murder Seed song she did in episode 1, but that at the fanatical function or Camarera Anonymous? I'd rather she do it to them and innocent people. No, not all. I wanted her to wipe them all out. Yeah, unfortunately, with terrorist groups like the Spree, the Camarera can't be all wiped out like that either. They're probably worldwide. They have to be worldwide. They're on a damn train in India. Yep, now I'm 100% certain as to who Rael's patron goddess is now, given how she acted in tonight's episode. And still, the whole entire function gave me the creeps. It literally brought flashbacks as to what happened with Silver Mutants back in the comics when the Friends of Humanity remedied Trask Industries. Yeah, Friends of Humanity were a mess. I was just, that whole scene with little Tiffany, though, that poor little girl. Yes, Raelle is a powerful baddie. Yes, she is. I'm just waiting for the day she realized that dear old Mama Willa is dead. Because from the way she acted, she is literally Persephone in this moment. And like Persephone, when emotions are toyed with, she becomes more like her name. Yeah, up the destroyer of light. And while Willa may wind up ending on the receiving end of that, or worse, become a mushroom corpse. Yeah. And when Raelle realizes that Scylla and Raelle's mother are both working together, she's gonna lose her shit. She's gonna find out soon, because the vital part of the whole death candle practice is that the witch has no choice but that to present herself. True. Yeah, that's true. And that spider did like go off. Maybe it was going off to get her. Maybe the spider's gonna go kill Willa to bring her back via high emotional flora fungal transfiguration by vengeful teenage daughter. Yeah. I don't think Raelle would kill Willa, unless the mushroom wants Raelle to kill Willa. Mama Mushroom is strong. The whole purpose of the candle was to call on the dead witch, and they literally have no choice but to appear. And if she realizes that one simple fact, that all bets are off. True. Who said anything about killing her? I'm thinking more along the lines of, you let me and Dad think you were, dead, and you want me to forgive you for abandoning us? Hell no. Raelle rage triggers. Yeah, I mean, I can see her losing control. Yeah, that's the truth. The unit are through with the military. Also, in the trailer, we see one of them melt their medallions. That's what I thought I was seeing. And just like in the trailer for next week, Raelle looks effing crazy. Like, her eyes are like, they look like Storm's eyes in the X-Men movie. So I don't know what the heck's happening. I'm glad that Dill is back, but at the same time, I don't know how I feel about Abigail's new purpose, or should say lease on life being a literal fury. But good on her. I'm telling you, I got pilot episode CW Arrow vibes from that, when she was talking to her cousin and Chevelle was like, you just need to be vengeance, bathe in their blood. Well, actually, as Abigail said in the series, or in the episode, she added that last part. But I just remember Oliver watching his father saying, this book is a ledger, and I'm sorry that put this all on you, and he like shoots his blows his brains out. And then Arrow becomes, or Oliver Queen becomes, vengeance on all the people that basically caused his daddy to shoot himself in front of him. This is what I think is happening with Abigail. Abigail is going to make a little manifest, and then she's going to go down it. And she's like, you have failed Fort Salem. You have failed Fort Salem. I'm like, but at this point, though, one thing I am glad that they did, they showed Abigail say, I'm a soldier. I can't do anything but what I'm told to do, because that is what she was raised as, a soldier. She wasn't raised as a human or a witch or a person. She was raised as a soldier from day one. Her mother made her into the ultimate soldier material. So now she's got feelings, and she's angry, and she's scared, and she's insecure, and everything she knows has been turned on its butt. And I love it, because now she's like, I don't have to be a soldier. I can be more than a soldier. And we saw this. We've seen her say, do you ever feel like you're living somebody else's life? Abigail is becoming a vigilante, and I effing love it. And I've always wanted the girls to literally forgo the military and run off on their own and do their own stuff. But I wanted them to stay together. I wanted them to be a unit that was vigilante, not spree, obviously not Camarera, but they were like their own bellwether unit that did their own stuff. And I really hope they do that. I really, really hope they do that. Belle's also said she's going to try and master Gem Bellwether's seed that's going to be. Yeah, I hope she does. I actually thought it would have been a good idea for her to actually channel Gem and be like, how do you do this seed? Because that's what I would have done. I would have been like, I can't deal with my cousin trauma right now, but I can say, I'm not powerful. I feel weak. What do I do? And call Gem and be like, help a sister out. Like, I'm just scared for Penelope Silva, because something tells me Vice President Silva is Camarera. I said this in the last one. And like Bill said tonight during the function, that the Camarera have people in all sorts. Yep, they're in all high places. I 1,000,000,000% said this in my last one, that I think he's Camarera. 1,000,000,000%. So, and he, like, you can see it if you go back and watch episode 1 of season 2. You will see that he is looking at his daughter, and the glass starts melting, and he looks at her like she's disgusting. It was not like, no, not my baby, or there was no fear, there was no surprise. It was absolute. He looked at her like disappointment and absolute disgust. I 1,000,000,000,000% think he's Camarera. I was screaming bloody murder this whole episode, just yelling for a lot of deaths this episode. I was satisfied. Plays, judges, police, firefighters, teachers, healthcare workers. Yep. He's definitely spree, especially after hearing Scylla confirm that the Camarera branch into high elite politics. I don't think he's spree. I actually think that he is Camarera. Because spree or witches, Camarera or not. So I think he is anti-witch. I would not be surprised, and I think I even said this in my last review, if he wasn't the one that contributed to Penelope's mother's death. Maybe he found out she was a witch and he killed her or had her killed. And he didn't think his daughter won because she never showed any signs. And then when they were at the church and then she started melting the windows, the church windows, that's when you saw that look on his face, like, oh, I got to get rid of this heifer too. Maybe he does have some split loyalty because, again, that's his child. But I'm telling you, that look on his face was not one that you give to your child. So I'm just throwing it out there. Just wondering why did Tali not talk to that woman who Alder made disappear in the photo? I feel like she would have gotten a lot more information from her. Yeah. 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 Kalita is Avatar Kyoshi's descendant. Yes, she is. Just not as tall. But when Scylla was saying she liked killing all those people, I was like, wow, can you come back from that? Or was she just trying to scare them? No, I think she's serious. I think she's serious. It's a thing. Nikta is most likely still alive. She's the who introduced off-canon work to the military. She most likely could have cooked up some work that kept her or keeps her alive. Well, like I said, we don't know the other cells of the seed, of the spree, sorry. We don't know the other spree cells. She absolutely could still be alive running the spree cells. So just because she's redacted, and they're like hiding who she is and taking her out of the history books at, War College and at Fort Salem doesn't mean she's dead. So that's probably another reason why she wasn't called on, because how would they explain that little thing, this little nugget of information this early? If Tali's like, I'm going to call on Nikta, and then Nikta doesn't show up either, then we already know. We know that Rael's mother's alive. Well, okay, this chick didn't show up too, so she has to be alive too. That's literally what would go through our minds. I don't think they want us to know that this early. No one wants to live Alder's life, not even Alder. True. President Kelly Wade, probably with lapses of time and blurred judgment. She most likely had a few aneurysms that left her stumbling, because from what I get in the situation, she might a tinge of, let's see. Did the President Kelly Wade, probably the lapse of time and blurred judgment. She most likely had a few aneurysms. Make sure I was reading that right. And might a small tinge of DID, because we don't need to have a separate person that's in Alder's image rise in the president. I think, like I said, I've already said my opinion on this. I think she's either damaged from her doing that to the Alder doing that to her twice, or Alder's still doing it. But Tali does not know that. So far, all she knows is she could be dead. True. We're going to eventually have to make a list of Scylla's kills because they're starting to stack up. I know. It's hard because she literally stuck that through that man's ear. With no, there was no conscience. There was no remorse. I know this guy is an a-hole. He's a horrible, horrible human being. He was willing to stone a child to death. He is a horrible person, especially having this little girl has been your daughter's best friend. That is disgusting. You kidnapped this child. You walked her into this party to die. He is a horrible, 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 horrible human being. But Scylla had no remorse whatsoever. And it's hard. It's hard because, yeah, in a rage as a mother, I would want to do it too. But at the same time, I would still have to live with that part of myself. And it doesn't seem like Scylla does. And it's just interesting to me. She can still be alive, but as a seasoned woman, mostly is like leading or as one of the high-ranking members of the spree. Probably. I'll be very sad if Dimitri Rickenny ever leaves the show. I'll be just like, what is there to live for? Oh, you're still attached, and how you doing? You're still ruling over what happened in Charmed, aren't you? Yeah, true. But then again, the time period of those events don't seem that far in the past. They really don't. Yeah, I was thinking maybe she was dead because I don't know how many years it has been since those flashbacks, and she is still alive. She would need witches to be biddies. Well, I know that happened didn't she say that was a little before Petra's time, but didn't say a lot before Petra's time. So, I mean, quite frankly, that could have been 30 years prior, 20, 30 years. So she might be up in age, but I don't think she's dead. Anacostia brought disco back. Yes, she did. This gave me Donald Pierce vibes, and now this function presented itself once the X-Men or an outsider perspective entered the Hellfire Club party. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. This is very reminiscent to a lot of stuff. I watched a show called Manifest, and there are people that are anti, pretty much the survivors of the plane, and they act the same way. They did not have to die when they take the faces. He is likely not dead. Yeah, I just want to know why you have to inhale them. What is that about? Anacostia's fit literally gave me Victoria Monet and Cleopatra Jones with this episode. I think Scylla stole that guy's face what I don't get because people saw him die. Yeah. When she inhales the smoke from the burned off face, think of it as an enhanced glamour or an updated system like computer now taking a new face for possible stealth missions. Okay, well, so did she do this to Bonnie? How did she get Bonnie's whole likeness? So I'm confused. If you don't have to do that, if you don't have to burn somebody's face, then how was she able to take on Bonnie's look to kill her husband? I'm very confused about that. I think Scylla didn't kill that guy, but I think she may have gave the guy her face. Since she did kill that guy in the bedroll scene, maybe it's a misdirection for later scenes. I don't know. I do have questions. Plus, what do you think happened to Tiffany? I wouldn't take her home because they all know she's a witch. They can just come for her again. So, where do you think Tiffany ended up? Do you think she's going to be living on Fort Salem on the base as an orphan? Because her parents were probably still looking for her. I don't think her parents are part of the Camarera, so I'm confused. I wonder what was happening with that. They threw non-canon work into the barred up church that the Tally called on. Yeah, it's because remember when Nikta said, "You use my work to do this. Your heart is black, Sarah." And I mean, I knew she freaking killed them. Abigail got the Batman speech. She did. She did. Well, I kind of associate it to CW Arrow because with Batman, he gave himself his own speech. But his parents didn't come back from the dead, but Oliver was seeing this stuff in his head. Okay, so where is Granny Goodness? Because I think we just found her a new Fury. Good question. I was so sad for Riel. I was like, I want to see their reunion. She would be I would be livid. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine it. Maybe Gregorio could be bi. I mean, I don't know what sexuality is in this version, in this universe. It could be completely fluid. Everyone could be on a spectrum. We don't know. That's when people are like, oh, well, they're usually in the guys. Just because you're in the guy, that means nothing. I'm bisexual. I'm in the guys and girls. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. So I don't know. At first, I thought M and Tally were going to be giving each other Google eyes. I think M's non-binary, and I actually like M's character a lot. I like her a lot. Or they. I said her. I like them. I like them a lot. I just want M to have more story, not just be the person that's in charge of their coven and is a badass fighter. Because M had some moves too in the last episode. I don't know why I like the fire eye effect, but I've always thought it was cool. I do too. I like anything that changes their eye colors. It's really neat. The girl gives me bi vibes as well. Yeah, I could see that. I think she was burning the tape that the camera was using to identify the witches with hearing tests. But I think she was burning more because they did show the tapes, but I thought in the fire there were other things. That's why I was like, what else is she burning? So I'm confused. I am confused. How much do you think the guy in the red mask was not the leader, but a figurehead? Of course he was a figurehead. I think Silva is one of the leaders of the Camarera. He might be generational family of the Camarera. Why do evil organizations insist on wearing white masks? To piss people off. That's why. What's going to happen when Petra pulls the plug on Anacostia working with Scylla? Will Anacostia keep protecting Scylla? I don't know. That's a good question, actually. Plus, will Adil and Abigail run into them? since they'll be also going after the camera on their own independently. It kind of feels like Abigail is not intending to go back to Fort Salem. I don't know. I didn't want to speculate about the vice president, but that look on his face was unforgettable. Yep. That does not show of a parent that is concerned for their child. It just doesn't. It literally, his entire face looked like, you are disturbing, you are disgusting, you are an abomination. I can't believe this right now. Also, Alder's days may be cut short considerably. We see her screeching on the floor, half dead in the next episode. I know, I love that. Do they not have more copies of the tapes? And that's kind of old school too, to be using these old archaic. I don't get this archaic system, but then again, they don't have cell phones, so maybe then she's playing a record player. So I mean, I get a lot of steampunk vibes, and I love steampunk. But I get a lot of steampunk vibes, not obviously with their clothing, but with the tech they use and all that. It's very steampunk to me. So, and I don't hate on it because again, it's a great genre. But I don't know, guys. This entire episode was literally a 3.0. It always goes from the very basis of, okay, we're catching up and everything with the season premiere. Then, okay, stuff's hitting the fan. Oh, crap, stuff's hitting the fan. Oh, crap, stuff's hitting the fan again. And it just keeps going up and up and up and up. And I'm just like, this is crazy. Definitely, I don't think I've ever had an angry grandma moment in this series. I don't have issues with plot. The only thing I thought the Camarera was stupid about, which I'm glad it didn't happen because I didn't want them to die, was if you're going to assassinate witches, your goal is to take witches out. You do not leave witches unattended, meaning if you're going to put the Black Plague bomb, or whatever we're calling this crap, on one of the cups, you do not put it just on one cup. You put it on all four, because Adil was already drinking his. He could have already infected everybody while they were talking. You could have put it on the food. You could have thrown it on the table. You could have done all that stuff. Why only put it in one cup? Put it in, General Sharma's cup. And then Sharma's the only one actually that gets affected until her assistant touches her, giving Khalida and Adil a chance to get away. Which, for plot purposes, we want this to happen. But for terrorist, mastermind, I hate witches, I'm trying to kill every witch purposes, that is innately stupid. So I'll go back to the Power Ranger logic, where the villains are not actually trying to kill the Power Rangers. So, they're really not. So I just think it's interesting that did not happen to all four of them, because that you literally could have wiped the board in like one sitting. So that is a little nitpick. I just had to point that out because that's probably the only thing in this episode that did not track well with me, because you aren't trying to kill them. Like, you were only trying to kill one of them, or hoping that she would just somehow pass it to them, instead of being like, all four of you got it, peace out. And like, it's weird. It was just really weird. Alder was definitely burning something else. There was something else in that fire. That's what I kept freeze framing it because that on DVR, and I'm like, there was something else in there beside those tapes. Each episode are good. Yep, absolutely. I'm never bored in this series. Her and her biddies look too suspicious as always. Of course they do. And they were always masking their stuff from Tally. Tally was like, I got let out because Alder wanted me to resume my life. And it was like, yay, it was for doing a job well done. And, blah, blah, blah. And all biddies are trained. I'm like, they're not trained. They basically are debriefed to shut the hell up and not tell her secrets. That's what it was. And she probably knew Tally couldn't do that. And Tally is a very powerful seer, and she probably didn't want that. So she had a seer before. She probably has a seer now, but like, I think there's a lot more shade than they realize. I think the black boom on the train was Alder. We see it with her in the promo. I feel next week Alder will come over the black white look like she was testing to overcome. Also, I wish they videotaped them trying to kill Tiffany and leaked it to the press to see how the public likes that. Yeah, well, I mean, okay. I mean, this world is weird. Did anyone have a cell phone? Like, I keep seeing them use landlines. Does anyone have a cell phone in this series? Well, in this world? I mean, I can't think of any time from season 1 up to now that I've ever seen anybody use a cell phone. So what would they record it on? And I mean, I could be wrong. There could be cell phones. I don't recall seeing them. So if you guys remember seeing a cell phone, I know I asked this last week, please let me know, because that is literally how we get things on social media. We use them on our smartphones or our cell phones. We record things with our cameras on our phone. I don't think they can do it because they don't have anything to record it with. I mean, hell, they're throwing these archaic looking tapes in the fire. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. This is like, what are they using, 35 millimeter film? I don't understand what's happening. I could have swore I saw a cell phone in the beginning of the first season. I don't remember. I really don't. And then why are they not allowed to have cell phones at Fort Salem? So I know I'm basic. Sometimes they frown on that, but I mean, you still can get them when you're stationed, or like, well, I don't know anything about West Point, because West Point, I guess, would be the equivalent of War College, but I don't know. I mean, I'm a military brat. My dad served for 30 years. He's a Vietnam vet. But I mean, I wasn't enlisted. I just was military through parentage through my father. So I don't know. But I will say this, guys. I do like the point of, hey, put this on social media, but at the same time, I don't even think I've ever heard any of them mention social media. I've never heard any of them say, "Hey, you check out Gregorio's Facebook post today? What do you think of his Instagram?" I don't ever see anything like that. I don't see anybody tagging. I mean, hell, they're going when Raelle in the last episode basically was going through her prospective baby daddies that she's not going to do anything with. They had these like Magic the Gathering type cards, and she's just going through their profiles. They look like they're posing like they're from Harry Potter. So I don't know. It's weird. Either it's not 2021 or science has regressed. That's what I think is happening. Government places with high security people can't take their phones in the building, I heard. Which I do get that. But I mean, I don't see them I don't even see the civilians using them. I don't see it. I don't. And then look at the television sets they use. They're not flat screen TVs. They're the old 2 boxes. I mean, it is so steampunk. It is ridiculous. The gadgets that the Camarera use, that's a steampunk tech. If you watch this Japanese tokusatsu show called Garo, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. They use this like tech that's very steampunk besides their blades, but they don't use like cell phones and things like that I've seen in the series. And there's a lot of different seasons of Garo, a lot of different variations, but I don't know. Well, I guess we'll know when we get to High Atlanta. Maybe only if you're at High Atlanta, then you're allowed to have a cell phone. But everybody else is like, nah, can't have that. But I am so excited. We finally get to go to Abigail's place. We're also going to go back home with Raelle, and Tally's going with Raelle because Tally was going to go with Abigail, and she decided to go home with Raelle. So I want to see how this plays out. But honestly, guys, I really wish that all 3 of them had gone home with Abigail, because I would have loved to have seen how they tried to treat Raelle and Tally. Tally would have been knocked up numerous times because, I mean, she just got something that they need. She's got some pheromone that all of the High Atlanta men are after, because that look between her and Gregorio in this episode tells me that that's going to be a thing. It's going to be a thing. And actually, I think even when they were going to the banquet, he was helping her find her next mate or whatever, and it's him. It's totally him. But I don't know. I there's so much, guys. I'm always like, am I leaving something out? Am I leaving something? Because there's so much that happens. If you blink, you'll mix something. You'll just miss it. And there's just always little Easter eggs. Like the big things for me, though, is number one, nobody gave a crap about, General Sharma's assistant dying. That's not mentioned. She's dead, but she's not important. I need to know what this spree mission is that's supposed to be, suicide mission. What is it? Why are they doing it? And who are they doing it against? Because it sounds like they're going after the army to me. It sounds like it is business as usual. So I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know what Tally's going to do with this newfound information. I need to know which one of these girls is burning their metal. I need to know if it is Abigail, and Abigail and the deal are going on the run. She's going to be a deserter. What does that mean? Because we saw what happened to Scylla's parents when they deserted. So what's going to happen when a bellwether does? And she is the last bellwether in her effing line. So what, even though I don't know why they just can't take her eggs and harvest them, but maybe they don't have IVF and all of that, in this world. I don't know why they don't, but I'm reaching at this point. They don't have a cell phone. Maybe they can't do IVF. But yeah, I do have questions about that. It's just a lot. There is a lot. And every episode keeps getting more and more and more mysterious, exciting, wonderful, frustrating, all of these emotions you just go through because you can't figure out the plot. So I love it. I absolutely love it. I am super excited for next week. But yeah, so we are almost to an hour, actually in 9 seconds. So I'm going to end the stream here. I do want to know your theories, guys. Please put them in the comments, not in the live chat, but put them in the comments when this ends, because this box will stop. And I want to know what you think is going to happen next week. I did not watch After the Storm. So please, if you do, watch After the Storm, because for some reason it didn't air on my end. It was not here. It did not record. So if it did air for you before it hits YouTube, also pop in what you learned from that, because I'm really curious to know what's happening or potentially is going to happen next week. But yeah, if this is your evening, have a very good evening. If this is your day, have a very good day. And I will see you for our next stream, which will be Arrowverse Wednesday. And that will be tomorrow, because we got stuff to talk about tomorrow too. All right, guys. Love you. Have a